This is going to be a real mind bender now, particularly for the police chief, I reckon. Well, we're getting really serious now with Robert F. Kennedy. What is actually happening in the world? I mean, Robert F. Kennedy is trying to get elected as president, and Biden is trying to stop him by cheating and rigging the election, so it's not possible for him to win. He's speaking out against an industrial military complex. They're trying to take his YouTube videos down. This is serious now. I've got an investigation into illegal road signage, which is real and true. And they did put illegal road signage all around and have been getting fines off people unlawfully. I haven't managed to get anything properly done about it yet. And I ended up lost my driving license over it. And then as that sort of period came towards an end, Extinction Rebellion take off, and the next thing they're tunneling under London, shutting London down and blocking McDonald's off and all kind of things, and literally we've got bedlam. So we ain't just messing around now. This is like Bill of Rights stuff happening now as we speak. We got Stop Cop City in Atlanta. They're actually doing a referendum. They've collected over 116,000 signatures, and the city council are trying to reckon that they didn't do it within a certain time, or they're trying to use court to stop them. Then we've got these ULEZ actually really happening now, and people are taking these ULEZ cameras down because they don't want to pay the fines, and there's a massive ULEZ campaign. Even some of the councils are saying they're going to fine the police vans. So we are, it's not just like, normal, 1996. We've got, I think this is slightly different to usual. I mean, this is like, we're not quite in war here, but there's, Ukraine are under attack in war. As grandparents, basically, effectively, the people in Ukraine now, if that war ever ends, they're, when they have kids and their grandparents, so we're in a war, right? This is what our grandparents used to tell us. We were in a war. We had to go to war. It didn't happen to me when I was alive. It's just stories, but so we kind of it seems like this may be normal human life, just that you're kind of lucky when you're born, if you just miss it, or if you die before it happens, if you just miss it either end. So I mean, the serious stuff. I mean, this is what the Bill of Rights is. People were affirming particular and certain rights, and then they were taken away from them, and then they had to reclaim them again. And then they literally, there's this tumultuous petitioning act versus the Bill of Rights. It's like when, Oliver Cromwell, basically, dethrones the king. The entire legacy of the monarchy. And then, Charles comes back, and then he's got this tumultuous petitioning act. And then again, we've got this glorious revolution when we're reclaiming rights back again, and we get the immunity. So it's all going backwards and forwards, right? And this is actually what is going on now. But we're in modern times, and it's kind of a little bit, we've got these big corporate entities that have assumed a hell of a lot of money, globally ridiculous amounts of money. They're controlling the phones, Google, YouTube, and because there's a possibility of normal people using these platforms that these other people own to actually get some sort of fairness in, how things are run. Maybe they not have these people who have trillions and millions, billions. Maybe people have everything equal. They're trying to really put some heavy restrictions on us, and also even trying to take away free speech, or else otherwise these platforms are very potent political tools where we could actually maybe, get some equality. So on that basis, I'm in pursuit of the truth, and I'm in pursuit of facts and fairness. And in that pursuit of the truth and facts and fairness, being an honest, good citizen that I am, I happened to be informed by the BBC at one point, Mr. Loophole, Nick Freeman, through a BBC broadcast, that there may be some illegal road signs knocking around here and there. Well, I think that he knew there were more than a few. Like, the whole place was rigged with them, because, it just happened that I ended up in a situation where I had to investigate it because, well, I didn't really have any option, basically. It was almost as if someone gave me the job to do it. That's what it felt like. So I've done that, and, now there are other issues, like, so with that evidence, YouTube have taken all my evidence down, so I need to get my evidence back, because YouTube, I don't have the videos. Why would I save, 3,000 videos on a hard drive? Because I haven't got enough hard drives to have 3,000 videos. That's why you upload videos to YouTube, because it's storage, That's casework, government casework. So, right. So I have to learn about and study rights, or else we can't do anything. If you don't have rights, you can't do anything. You can't publish anything, particular things that they really don't want you to publish. When you really need to publish them. So, in the pursuit of rights, I've ended up getting punished unlawfully, classically, just like in these acts. But not just me, because now there are a hell of a lot of people like Angela Ditchfield and, Gail Bradbrook and other people as well. And now we're having some sort of, issues over what these rights exactly are. So it's very important to find out. Now, I think that it is immunity for this casework, at least from the normal local courts. I don't think you can be prosecuted, but if you can, it ain't by the local courts. It's through some committee or special thing they set up in London to deal with it. It isn't through, and I actually think that these laws and rights are from a time when there wasn't a police force. The law is by the people, for the people, right? The laws are there for the people to use, not just obey. The law is there for use, not just obedience. But the problem is now, only the police think they use the law. We obey the law, the police use the law. No, actually, no. We obey, but also use the law. That's the point. But now they're trying to make out that, no, we don't use, we can't, the law's not there for us to use. No, it actually is there. That's the whole point. It's humans governing humans. It's not there for machines. You don't make machines can use the law. Robot dog, drone helicopter, the speed camera. No, the law's there for machines to use against humans. No, actually, the law's by humans for humans. The law's not by ministers for ministers and then use their robots against the people. It's meant to be our law for us. We can use it. Not just like, it's not like, it's almost like the law's there for ministers. The law, we're the ministers. We make the law for just us. And then we send our robot dogs to make everyone obey it. And that's how it works. The robots are there the law's there for robots to use. And the ministers make the law and the robots use it. Or the police use it. No, actually, no, it's by the people, for the people. The law is there for us to obey and use when we need to use it. That's the point, right? So, in my investigations into these rights, or, however much I found, because just when Edward Fitzgerald has been to Kew Gardens, and he's done all the Kew Gardens research in his book, although he didn't actually get the Tumultuous Petitioning Act, which would have been something worth looking at when he was there. I was just about to go to Kew Gardens when I lost my driving licence. I just started getting some evidence of old petitions to see what people were petitioning about. I bought some old documents from Kew Gardens, copies, but all the ones on the website are translated. The ones that I bought are the untranslated ones that I can't read them because they're in like scribbly handwriting. I was gonna go. That was like my next job was to go to Kew Gardens and start looking at all the all the acts, and well, actually, I wanted to look at. I probably wouldn't have found the tumultuous act if I went there, because I was going there to look for some petitions that people had written between 1600 and 1800 to see what people were petitioning about. But many of them are in handwriting that we don't easily read. You have to get like a historian to translate them. But anyway, I found out about this tumultuous act, and it is important. We don't know how many other acts there are. I've looked, and it doesn't seem like any of them are mentioned. I don't think any of the 1500s acts or earlier have really got anything about the petitioning right in there. But Professor Karen Bowie has said that in her paper, which is quite a good paper, that a lot of people were referring, like first-hand witness statements in that period, were talking about this natural right or ancient right. But I think it comes from the ancient Welsh and Irish clans, because they used to elect their leaders. So the people would elect the leaders who made the laws up. But the leaders didn't actually judge. They were judged by independent private persons, not by these elected people. And I think that is the model. What was the judge going around? It must have been, because that figures out, if each clans elect their leaders and then they make the laws up, and then the judges are going around kind of independent and they do judging. So I would suggest that the right for the public to have a say in anything, I think that there is very strong evidence that it originates from this clans electing their leaders, right? It would make sense. They probably had a say in, the clans made the laws, but if they're electing, the people on the council, then it to me it seems like that is where it originated from. It definitely wasn't conjured up by the king when we were conquered, I can tell you that. So, anyway, as I'm reading the Tumultuous Act and this claim of right, this Scottish version, which is on the legislation.gov website, I come across this, and this is one of the clauses which is right next to the one that says you can't be imprisoned for petitioning activities, which really, really bolsters and supports the 1688 bill wording. It really, really helps this, and the language used in claim of right and the wording in it is extremely helpful. Now, when I was looking at this Scottish claim of right, I've come across this, and I've actually done another video about it. And in that video the other day, I'm claiming that if this clause is valid, and if this clause is read right, there's a very, very, very strong possibility that the notices of intended prosecution that the police issue are illegal. Why? Because they are forcing you to give knowledge or ledger to default on guilt on an offence without going to court. If by coercing you with a more lenient punishment, reduced punishment, but without going to a trial, and it's trying to force you into doing it, like basically like blackmailing you, like saying give us pay this fine, and we'll reduce your punishment. Now, that is the principle set out in this clause. The principle set out in this clause is that the forcing of ledgers, which is information and knowledge, to depone against themselves in capital crimes. However, the punishment be restricted is contrary to law. So, now the thing is, right? So they're kind of saying that if they restrict the punishment, you know, forcing people is against the law. I actually, I think they were actually supposed to be torturing people as well at one point. Now, if you read this as it meaning that it actually is just basically a clause against torture, but I don't see how it can be, because you can't, surely a punishment is something you're given once found guilty. Torture is like you're being punished in order to get knowledge. But it says the forcing of ledgers in order for people to get convictions in capital crimes. However, the punishment be restricted is contrary to law. Well, you get your punishment even if you're found guilty, surely. Surely the punishment, but so like, you know, I don't think that this is saying that, restricting the torture, because it's explicitly referring to it as punishment. So your punishment is clearly if you're found guilty. I'm quite certain that this is like, I'm absolutely certain that this is effectively saying that, they're forcing you to admit guilt or give informations when there's a very, very serious crime, if they say that they'll be more lenient on you if you, admit it. Like, confess and we won't kill you, basically, right? Like if some of these capital crimes punishment was death or hanging or something like that, if you confess, force you to, give information. If you give us information, then we won't hang you. You'll have like a less severe penalty. I'm quite sure it's saying that, right? So it's basically, there is a doctrine in this. And so if I'm correct, and if the doctrine in this is what I'm saying it is, which is, if you give informations or confess, then, we won't kill you or hang you, or give you with a hot iron or whatever it is, or lock you up in prison, we'll only give you a fine, or, you'll only get a year in prison, not, lifetime or something like that. Basically, basically saying that they'll, give you a reduced sentence or crime if you confess, right? Which your guilt, you are supposed to decide if you're innocent or guilty and whether you want to defend something or not, right? And then you've got to put a defense in. Now, if you admit guilt and don't defend something, you're not entering a defense, are you? Because you're admitting guilty. But what your lawyer does is try to get you a reduced sentence when you're admitting guilt, right? But you've already admitted guilt. You're admitting guilt, and it's your lawyer who tries to get you a reduced sentence. But you're really... There's this myth. Well, it's not a myth. They do this thing where, confess and you'll be more lenient. Yeah, but what if you haven't done it? Why would you confess if you hadn't done it? If you haven't done it, then you're not guilty. So why would you? we shouldn't confuse mitigation, letters of mitigation, or mitigating circumstances with pleading not guilty and submitting a defence. They're two very different things. I've been in the box before and given mitigating circumstances. You're saying that you did it, you're guilty, you're a criminal, and the mitigating circumstances are, right, I did it, but, I have got no money, so I have to eat bread, but I'm a criminal, I stole it, you are trying to get a more lenient sentence by putting mitigating circumstances, right? But you're admitting the crime, right? You're admitting the crime because you did it. You're not innocent, and if you haven't done it and you're innocent, why would you say that you did it, right? Because then you defend it to put your facts across. Now, really, so there's this thing they've got, which is like, you might get a harder sentence. Why would you get a harder sentence if you didn't do it and you're putting a case across? If they don't believe you and it fails and, your defence doesn't work, right, you stole some bread. What is the punishment for stealing bread? You can't, if you're found guilty of stealing bread, you're found guilty of stealing bread, right? Now, if you stole it or you didn't, so why would it matter if you pleaded guilty or innocent, right? If you didn't do it, but they found you guilty, why should you're found guilty of stealing bread. So whatever the punishment is, right, that's what it is. Now, with mitigating circumstances, you're admitting that you did it, right? But, you say, well, I didn't have any money and I was starving or whatever, right? Now, then you are, basically, begging or pleading or whatever, them to be lenient on you. Right, so for you're asking for a lower sentence. They're not saying, they're not doing a deal with you. They're not saying, we'll give you a lower sentence. No, you're begging for one. You're asking for one. You're saying, please give me, please. I'm sorry. I repent. Forgive me. I'm starving. You are begging them for a lenient sentence. They aren't saying, we'll give you a lenient sentence if you do this or you do that, right? Because why would they invent your mitigating circumstances? They aren't you. They don't know anything, apparently. They're not meant to know, if you were poor or not, or if you were starving or not, till you tell them. So how can they say to you, we'll reduce your sentence if this or that? There is no if this or that. Because, if you are pleading guilty that you did it, then your mitigating circumstances are about to be disclosed and told. So why would they be offering you any deals when they don't know what your fucking mitigating circumstances are till they come out of your mouth, right? So what they're trying to do is, with this, it's basically trying to force, compel, or coerce people into admitting guilt or giving informations in return for a lower sentence. So that's basically them doing some sort of deal with you. It basically means that they're doing some sort of deal with you. Whereas with mitigating circumstances, you're doing a deal with them because you're asking or begging them to give you a lower sentence. You're the one with the informations that is going to give a lenient sentence. But you're the one who says it, please. So, but what this is saying is they're saying, Mr. Simpkins, would you like to do a deal with us? If you give us some information or if you tell us this or that, you might get a reduced sentence, so I'm not going to kill you. This is it. So it's different. There's a different doctrine in it. There's a different dynamic happening. There are different parts to be played. So I'm quite sure that this does not actually. I could have read it wrong, and it could be about torture, but I don't think it is. I think it's about sort of them trying to do deals in order to get convictions. That's what I think it is, right? Now, therefore, that is the same doctrine as what's happening with the NIPs, the Notices of Intended Prosecution. What they're doing is they're saying, if you admit you did it and, accept this fine, then, we're not going to take you to court, right? Or you'll have a reduced, we were only going to fine you, £75, or no, it's 100 now. But if you'd pay within 60 days, or it'll be higher, basically. So it's that. This is saying that is unlawful. It's an unlawful doctrine. Now, this is the twist and the mind bender on it, though. If you're with me on it so far, if you agree with that I've got the doctrine right. Now, and that is that it says for capital crimes. It's if it's capital crimes, which were mainly the death penalty or severe punishment or bad crimes. But what I've read in my research is this. It says that many of the crimes in those days that were quite serious to us now a lot of them are actually quite petty or minor. A lot of them are quite minor. So what they would consider as quite serious offences back then, some of them are now, we wouldn't actually think they were. Right? So then you're arguing over, well, they've abolished all of the capital crimes. They started to phase them out. Right? So you said, we don't have capital crimes now. Yes, but this is a doctrine and a principle, and it's about, serious crimes, or things that, are quite serious matters, and trying to get you to admit guilt or get conviction out of you in return for lower sentences, right? Deal doing. So, now this is the thing. Notices of intended prosecution are about driving offences, right? And they do these points, you get points once, twice, thrice, and then you're banned. Now, on the third notice of intended prosecution, if you've got clock up, 9, 12 points, you have to, you don't get this, or we'll do you a deal. We've done with deals now. We've done with deals. We've done enough deals with you. You're going to court. You have to go to court to defend it, and you're going to lose your driving license. Well, why don't you lose your driving license straight away? If it's that serious, Well, that's the thing. You could be just driving down the road going 1 mile an hour, 2 mile an hour too fast, right? And, 1 minute you do that, and then, you get a very, very petty fine. And then the next time, you're actually facing losing your entire driving license that you've had your whole life, or, it's the main certificate of achievement, and it's your whole, job, your travel, it's quite serious and important. It's a big thing. They play it down so much to the middle-class person who is, working, a middle-class person who doesn't catch buses, who's got the freedom, my horse, a kingdom for my horse. They play, it's huge. It is a massive punishment to have a driving license taken off you. Although I don't think it was that serious when they were doing it for a month at a time. When they had those little tiny driving licenses like my granddad used to have. You used to lose it for 1 month or something like that. That's what it used to be. So it's only really within our lifetime, 1970s and so forth, 60s and 70s. I think they were still doing it in the 60s. It was still quite a short period. So it's only kind of within the lifetime more recently, my lifetime and my parents. So where they do this year or 2 year, or at the moment I can't drive because they take it off me forever until I retake my test. And I passed my test first time, and I'm refusing to retake it because And they also took my paper driving license off me, which was like my pride document. It was like my equivalent of my university certificate, which they took from me and then give me a piece of plastic. And they tricked it from me because they sent dupe letters in order to trick me to send it into them. And then it was gone. So, you know, I don't have my certificate of driving anymore to put on my wall or have and to hold because Theresa May stole it from me. And when I was investigating the back of the driving licenses that have evidence on them to prove that 3.5 ton vehicles vans are classed as 3.5 ton vehicles, and they should be the same speed limit on dual carriageways as cars, which is on the back of my granddad's driving license, which I have. I wanted more driving licenses for more evidence to read on the back of them. I wanted specimen copies, and the Department of Transport refused to send specimen copies as evidence. So look, we're very lucky to have my granddad's driving license with the evidence on the back. I had a massive, very, very long ongoing dispute with the DVLA who did not say I was wrong. They did not say that I was wrong, but they wouldn't do anything about it. So that was quite serious. So what is the mind bender on this? What is the mind bender on it? Which the police chiefs are really not going to like this if this were to be proved that this doctrine is illegal. Well, it's this, right? Capital crimes, very serious crimes, right? If I'm right on this, and it all comes down to if we could prove that simply, you know, these driving offences could be somehow compared to capital crimes back then, if it all came down to, you know, it has to be serious, or no, we've abolished capital crimes, we don't have them anymore, what would be equivalent, you know, to extremely serious crime, or anything which had a death penalty, or some well, you know, losing your driving license for forever is quite serious and important. You know, it's, you know, to someone who's got one. But try this, right? Magna Carta, the other very well-known, prestigious, legendary document. 1688 Bill of Rights. Oh yes, we're all over that. We're very keen on it. Tumultuous Petitioning Act. There's another one plucked out of the ether. The Tumultuous Petitioning Act, turns out it's very significant and important if you can get your hands on the full copy of it. Very, very important. Well, Scotland Claim of Right. Do you know about that one? Well, we'll do now. Magna Carta. Right? As David Cameron, you know, claims, one of the birth of democracy, even the start of it all, Runnymede, Magna Carta. And what is one of the main clauses in Magna Carta? Ironically, like the illuminations, the glowing documents, you know, magnetic script, or is it the magnetic cart that draws people to it because they all want lifts? You know, when someone comes past on a cart, all the peasants flock to him, you know, like a magnet, because they all want to hop on for a ride because it'll save their legs from being tired, or they can go quicker on a couple of horses and cart. Magna Carta. What is one of the main clauses in Magna Carta that stands out is you cannot take someone's cart from them when they've broken the law. You can't do it. It's unlawful. You cannot take anyone's cart away from them if they've broken the law. You can fine them, right? Or, if it's serious, more serious, well, they could go to prison. Well, actually, no matter even if it is serious or not, even if it was serious to go to prison, right? And it actually doesn't even talk about being hanged in Magna Carta, you know, or fined. You know, you can fine them, or you can prison them, or probably hang them, right? You know, in fact, you know, no matter how bad you are, no matter what you've done, they can fine you, they can lock you up, or they could hang you. But no matter what you've done, they can't take your car away from you for work. Not that you'd need it if you were dead, but, you know, they can kill you, but they can't take your car from you. So, taking someone's car from someone is actually illegal, even in punishment. They can lock you up and hang you, but they can't take your car away from you. So work that one out. Something that even capital punishment can't even do. So how was the police chief wrap that around his tie? Because you can't do it, even if you're a criminal. You end up dead before they take your car from you. In fact, that's actually just reminded me of something, because that's really weird, because Dr. John Campbell has just posted a video this morning. I noticed half an hour after he'd posted it, and it was 30 minutes after he'd posted it, there was like 14,000 views on it. So it had 14,000 views in half an hour. And I went into the comments, because there were only like 250 comments that he'd got within half an hour of publishing it. And I was reading through them. I don't usually read all the comments in videos, but I was looking through them because there weren't that many. And, well, 200 is not many if he's got 2 million viewers, is it? So, and then I happened upon this woman. She was going on about, she's from like somewhere like Sweden or Norway or somewhere like that. And her relative was like an athlete, a really, really well-known athlete, like a famous athlete. And they do these dog sleigh runs. Must be like when they have the snow or whatever. And he was like really good at it, one of the champions, right? And he'd had COVID jab. And apparently he was in this race. And apparently he had a stroke in this sleigh dog race. And she said that he fell off his sleigh, he fell off his car, his sleigh, and rolled down the hillside. And all his parka coat got into tatters. And he ended up freezing. And he was there for 2 weeks or something. And it took him 2 weeks to find him, and his body was frozen because his parka coat was ripped and it didn't keep him warm. But apparently, after they got him, he was alive still. He was this cryogenic freezing, and they resuscitated him and he came back to life, right? And he's actually, his dog, when he fell off his sleigh, his dog carried on. His dog continued and won the race. Like, his own dog with his, like, sleigh cart thing won the race. And he actually won and got the prize money. Because apparently the rules are for that if your dog finishes in the race, then you win, even if you're not on the cart, right? But then apparently, a few months after, he actually ended up passing away because he got a second jab. I don't know why he would have a second jab, you know, if he had that reaction from the first one, or he might have not correlated it to do with that. But this is why Dr. Campbell's talking about those jabs, you know, and this woman said, I've got a story. So this guy actually falls off his cart and freezes, but then he comes back to life and is resuscitated, and he actually still won, even though he wasn't on it, which is quite insane. That actually seems to have some sort of... there's some sort of poetic kind of resonance there with this Magna Carta thing, you know, like they can fine you, you know, they can lock you up in prison, or they can even hang you, but they can't take your car off you. So it's even worse than capital punishment, taking the cat off you, because they actually made a law in Magna Carta to say that you couldn't do it. So therefore, when we come into this petition of right, and if this is setting a doctrine out that you can't, that you can't have deals done in order to, get evidence for less punishment, but it has to be serious crimes. Well, what the evidence of taking someone's right to drive the vehicle away from them, taking the driving license from them, right? It's more serious than it's actually, that is worse than being hanged, than killing you, because they forbid them to do it. They forbid them in Magna Carta. The barons made King John sign it so no one shall have the car taken away from them. Even if they are a criminal, you can be fined or locked up. Or worse. But no matter if it is worse, they can't take your car from you. So taking the car from you is actually worse than hanging you. Because they can't do it. That's how it's forbidden. So on that basis, I would say that it's even worse than capital punishment, because they actually made a law to stop doing it. And that is why I believe that from Magna Carta, the royals love to do things to liberals which take the liberty away from them. And that's why I believe that the whole point system is evil, to take working people's driving licenses away from them.